Good morning, and welcome to World in 15, your trusted source for comprehensive coverage of today's most pressing events, delivered with accuracy, integrity, and insight.
In the closing arguments of the Donald Trump hush money trial, the prosecution emphasized the extensive evidence they claim proves Trump's falsification of business records to conceal an alleged affair. We have Shelby reporting on this.
Conversely, Trump's defense team attacked the credibility of Michael Cohen, portraying him as untrustworthy and dubbing him the greatest liar of all time. The defense argued that the case against Trump relies solely on Cohen's testimony, which they allege is unreliable. The contrasting narratives presented by both sides leave the jury with a pivotal decision to make, which could ultimately determine Trump's legal fate. The trial's outcome holds significant implications, especially considering its timing as a key moment in the 2024 presidential election. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
U.S.-made munitions used in deadly strike on Rafah tent camp. Munitions made in the United States were used in the deadly Israeli strike on a displacement camp in Rafah on Sunday. A CNN analysis of video from the scene and a review by explosive weapons experts has found. We have Anthony reporting on this.
At least 45 people were killed and more than 200 others injured after a fire broke out following the Israeli military strike on the outskirts of Gaza's southernmost city, most of them women and children, according to the Gaza Health Ministry and Palestinian medics. Footage obtained by CNN showed swaths of the camp in Rafah in flames, with scores of men, women and children frantically trying to find cover from the nighttime assault. Burned bodies, including those of children, could be seen being pulled by rescuers from the wreckage. Israel's escalating assault in Rafah, where some 1.3 million Palestinians were taking shelter before Israel began its operation there, has drawn swift international condemnation, with United Nations agencies, aid groups, and multiple governments calling on Israel to immediately halt its offensive. Israeli tanks were seen advancing further into Rafah on Tuesday for the first time in Israel's 7-month war against Hamas, signaling a new phase, Israel pressing on with its controversial and destructive offensive. However, U.S. President Joe Biden is not altering his policy towards Israel, suggesting the deadly Rafah strike had not yet crossed a red line that would force changes in American support, despite him saying in a CNN interview earlier this month he wouldn't allow certain U.S. weapons to be used in a major offensive in Rafah. CNN geolocated videos showing tents in flames in the aftermath of the strike on the camp for internally displaced people known as Kuwait Peace Camp 1. In video shared on social media, which CNN geolocated to the same scene by matching details including the camp's entrance sign and the tiles on the ground, the tail of a U.S.-made GBU-39 small-diameter bomb, SDB, is visible, according to 4 explosive weapons experts who reviewed the video for CNN. The GBU-39, which is manufactured by Boeing, is a high-precision munition designed to attack strategically important point targets and result in low collateral damage, explosive weapons expert Chris Cobb-Smith told CNN Tuesday. However, using any munition, even of this size, will always incur risks in a densely populated area, said Cobb-Smith, who is also a former British Army artillery officer. Trevor Ball, a former U.S. Army senior explosive ordnance disposal team member who also identified the fragment as being from a GBU-39, explained to CNN how he drew his conclusion. The warhead portion of the munition is distinct, and the guidance and wing section is extremely unique compared to other munitions. Guidance and wing sections of munitions are often the remnants left over even after a munition detonates. I saw the tail actuation section and instantly knew it was one of the CB/GBU-39 variants. Ball also concluded that while there is a variant of the GBU-39 known as the Focused Lethality Munition, FLM, which has a larger explosive payload but is designed to cause even less collateral damage, this was not the variant used in this case. The FLM has a carbon fiber composite warhead body and is filled with tungsten ground into a powder. Photos of FM testing have shown objects in the test coated in tungsten dust, which is not present in video from the scene, he told CNN. Serial numbers on the remnants of the munitions also matched those for a manufacturer of GBU-39 parts based in California, pointing to more evidence the bombs were made in the U.S. Two additional explosive weapons experts, Richard Weir, senior crisis and conflict researcher at Human Rights Watch, and Chris Lincoln-Jones, a former British Army artillery officer and weapons and targeting expert, identified the fragment as being part of a U.S.-manufactured GBU-39 when reviewing the video for CNN, though they were unable to comment on the variant used. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
The election campaign in India has taken a concerning turn as Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his ruling party increasingly resort to Islamophobic rhetoric, according to critics and observers. Modi, seeking a third consecutive term, has embraced negative campaigning, critics note, with little pushback from civil society or election authorities. We have Jensen reporting on this.
While the BJP has faced accusations of Islamophobia in the past, the shift now is that Modi himself is using overtly inflammatory language rather than it being confined to party surrogates or lower-ranking members. This shift is particularly alarming for Indian Muslims, who feel targeted and marginalized by the Prime Minister's rhetoric. Modi and the BJP have denied any discrimination against minority groups, but analysts point to multiple instances during the current campaign where Modi has specifically targeted Muslims, portraying them negatively. Accusations of Muslims being labeled as infiltrators and insinuations about their family size or intentions become commonplace in Modi's speeches. The BJP has remained silent on requests for comment regarding the inflammatory rhetoric, though party spokespeople have previously denied any prejudice against Muslims, claiming that the community has benefited from Modi's leadership. For observers like Irfan Nuruddin, a professor of Indian politics at Georgetown University, the current rhetoric represents a marked escalation in communal language. These sentiments, once kept under wraps to avoid backlash, are now being openly espoused, given the perceived neutralization of media and civil society opposition. The BJP's strategy, it seems, is to consolidate the Hindu vote and prevent the opposition from making economic appeals by emphasizing communal divisions. This approach, some fear, could lead to further polarization and marginalization of minority communities in India. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
French President Emmanuel Macron made a bold statement on Monday, suggesting that Ukraine should have the ability to utilize French weapons, including long-range missiles, to target sites within Russia that are launching attacks on Ukrainian soil. Macron emphasized the need to allow Ukraine to neutralize military installations from which these attacks originate. We have Alana reporting on this.
France has already supplied Ukraine with SCALP cruise missiles, the equivalent of Britain's Storm Shadow, which have a range of up to 155 kilometers and carry a 400-kilogram high-explosive penetration warhead. Additionally, France has provided Ukraine with other military equipment, such as Caesar self-propelled howitzers. Macron clarified that these arms should only be used to target sites involved in attacks on Ukraine and not to hit civilian or unrelated military targets within Russia. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz supported Macron's stance, asserting that Ukraine has the right to defend itself within the parameters set by the countries supplying the weapons and international law. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned against Ukraine's use of long-range weapons without significant NATO support, suggesting that such actions could lead to a global conflict. Putin argued that the use of precision weapons requires sophisticated reconnaissance capabilities, which NATO countries possess. He cautioned NATO nations, particularly those in Europe, about the potential consequences of engaging in actions that could escalate tensions with Russia. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Apple's strategic move to slash iPhone prices in China is paying off, as evidenced by a notable rebound in iPhone sales in the country. This resurgence comes as the tech giant aggressively adjusted its pricing strategy to cater to cost-conscious consumers amid economic challenges. We have Jordan reporting on this.
Foreign-branded cell phone shipments, primarily iPhones, surged by an impressive 52% in April, according to data from the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology, CACT. This growth represents a significant acceleration compared to the previous month, reflecting the impact of Apple's price reductions. Earlier in the year, Apple faced stiff competition from local brands like Huawei, resulting in a decline in its market share in China. However, the tide began to turn in March when iPhone sales started to rebound following price cuts initiated by Apple and its retail partners. The recent price reductions, including discounts of up to 23% on certain iPhone models on major e-commerce platforms like Tmall and JD.com, were part of a strategic campaign coinciding with China's 618 Shopping Festival. These discounts have effectively positioned the iPhone 15 within the same price range as smartphones from competitors like Xiaomi and Huawei. Analysts believe that Apple's aggressive pricing strategy is essential for defending its market share in China, particularly against competitors like Huawei. However, these price cuts are likely to create pricing pressure on other smartphone makers, potentially leading to further reductions in the third quarter of 2024. Overall, Apple's decision to prioritize affordability in China appears to be yielding positive results, helping the company regain lost ground in a critical market while also intensifying competition within the smartphone industry. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
Chinese Coast Guard ships have maintained a prolonged presence in the waters surrounding Japanese-controlled islands in the East China Sea, setting a new record of 158 consecutive days, Tokyo revealed on Monday. These islands, known as the Senkakus in Japan and the Diaoyus in China, have long been a source of tension between the two countries and are seen as a potential flashpoint for conflict. We have Ava reporting on this.
Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi emphasized Tokyo's serious concern over the continuous presence of Chinese vessels in the contiguous zone and territorial waters around the islands. While foreign ships are permitted innocent passage through territorial waters, the prolonged presence of Chinese Coast Guard ships is viewed as provocative by Japan. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida raised Japan's concerns with Chinese Premier Li Gongmin during a trilateral summit with South Korea in Seoul. Japan reiterated its commitment to maintaining surveillance and taking precautions around the Senkaku Islands. The dispute over the uninhabited island chain is deeply rooted, with both Japan and China asserting historical claims to the territory. Tensions escalated in 2012 when Japan purchased some of the islands from a private owner, seen as a direct challenge to China's sovereignty claims. China has regularly deployed Coast Guard and government vessels to the waters surrounding the islands to assert its claims. Chinese authorities argue that these patrols are legitimate measures to safeguard sovereignty and respond to Japanese provocations. The prolonged presence of Chinese ships near the islands serves not only as a statement of sovereignty, but also potentially lays the groundwork for a legal argument in favor of China's territorial claims. As tensions persist, experts warn of the ongoing risk of conflict between the two Asian neighbors over the disputed territory. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra faces lèse-majesté charges, according to authorities on Wednesday, marking a new chapter in the country's protracted political saga. The charges stem from an interview Thaksin gave to the South Korean newspaper Chosun Ilbo in 2015, where he allegedly violated Thailand's strict royal insult law. We have Patrick reporting on this.
The announcement of Thaksin's indictment came from spokesperson Prayuth Baraguna, who stated that the Attorney General had decided to press charges against him. Thaksin, who is currently battling a COVID-19 infection, is required to appear before the Office of the Attorney General on June 18. Despite denying the charges and expressing loyalty to the monarchy, Thaksin's legal battle is set to escalate further. Thaksin's political career has been tumultuous, including a term as Prime Minister from 2001 until his ousting in a military coup in 2006. His recent return to Thailand in August, after 15 years in self-imposed exile, led to his arrest. While some speculate that Thaksin may have reached an agreement with Thailand's conservative and royalist establishment for his return, he has refuted these claims. Previously, Thaksin was convicted on charges of conflict of interest, abuse of power, and corruption during his time in office. Despite being sentenced to 8 years in prison, his term was eventually reduced to 1 year. Thaksin's recent release from detention on parole occurred in February, after serving just 6 months in a police hospital. Thailand's lèse-majesté laws are among the world's strictest, with severe penalties for anyone found guilty of insulting the monarchy. Criticism directed at the king, queen, or heir apparent can result in lengthy prison sentences, with Section 112 of Thailand's criminal code carrying the possibility of decades behind bars. The prosecution of hundreds of individuals under these laws in recent years underscores the gravity of the situation. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update. Thanks for tuning in to World in 15 for your daily dose of news and updates. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on breaking stories and insightful analysis.